Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for those cinematic examples of excessive bloodshed. We'll be excluding horror movies for the purpose of criteria, since violence often exists at the centre of that genre. Number 20. The Northman. Writer-director Robert Eggers may prefer to live in the past with his filmography thus far, but The Northman proved that this past can also be a very violent place. Brutal and visceral revenge serves as the driving force behind Alexander Skarsgård's character, while The Northman also takes time to develop its mystical Scandinavian lore. Eggers' penchant for long, uninterrupted takes often makes the bloody set pieces in The Northman feel even more dangerous and exhilarating. The results make the audience feel enveloped within this cold and unforgiving world, perhaps warmed only by the gratuitous red stuff that seems to flow like wine throughout its runtime.
I am his vengeance!
Number 19. Starship Troopers. We're thankful that director Paul Verhoeven and screenwriter Edward Neumeier decided to lean so heavily into satire with their adaptation of the 1959 novel Starship Troopers. This political commentary makes the excessively gross battle sequences feel more satisfying, pleasing both our brains and our guts. Speaking of guts, there's a whole lot of that to be found within these interstellar conflicts between space marines and world-dominating bugs. Starship Troopers successfully subverts the expectations of average action movie fans, while never forgetting to remain completely entertaining.
Would you like to know more? Everyone's doing their part. Are you?
Oh, and did we mention that it's also technically a Disney movie, having been co-produced by the mouse-owned Touchstone Pictures?
Let me tell you something. I'm from Buenos Aires, and I say kill them all! Yeah! Oh yeah! Yeah! Oh yeah!
Number 18. The Revenant.
Step back!
It was 1971's Man in the Wilderness that served as an inspiration for director Alejandro González Iñárritu to adapt the folktale of Hugh Glass for a modern audience with The Revenant. Glass's alleged encounter with a grizzly bear and the subsequent abandonment by his accompanying party serve as a crux for all three stories. The bear attack in The Revenant, however, is supremely well actualized. The sequence goes on for an uncomfortably long period of time, and we're left with Leonardo DiCaprio's Glass as he seeks both recovery and revenge. Elsewhere, The Revenant also makes use of extended long takes for other violent skirmishes, and never shies away from the occasional brutality of frontier life. Number 17. A Better Tomorrow. We could have easily populated this list with examples from the Hong Kong action scene of the 1980s and 90s, and perhaps we should do that someday. But for now, we have A Better Tomorrow from 1986. This defining example of the heroic bloodshed genre helped codify many tropes found within many of its successors. These include stylish gun battles, hard-boiled dialogue, and character themes that tend to focus on duty, loyalty, and friendship. A Better Tomorrow is a ballet of bullets and well-choreographed fight scenes, all of which never let up for a minute. If you watch one film on this list for the first time, then we highly suggest it be A Better Tomorrow. Number 16. Eastern Promises. David Cronenberg may be rightfully lauded today as a master of body horror cinema, but the Canadian genre film legend also did great work outside of the scary stuff. Fast Company was a die-in-the-wall exploitation picture, while Eastern Promises proved that Cronenberg could also go gangster with the greatest of ease.
Kirill is my captain. When I find out what happened, we do what we have to clean up the situation.
This isn't a typical Italian mob movie, however, but instead one that focuses upon the Russian mafia and its equally interesting traditions. A scene that takes place within a public bathhouse is probably the most infamously daring example of this film's violence. But it isn't the only one. Instead, Eastern Promises exists as a latter-day gem within Cronenberg's filmography, a mature and hard-hitting affair that still works well today.
I thought I should bring it back before it got stolen. A lot of villains around.
Number 15. Drive. It isn't always about how much violence there happens to be in a movie, but rather how it happens to hit the audience. The brutality of Drive tends to occur in short and sharp bursts, exploding from the screen without warning.
Now you just got a little boy's father killed. You almost got us killed. And now you're lying to me.
Of course, it helps that Ryan Gosling's unnamed driver is a man of few words, but then again, this is also by design. Drive is a neo-noir soaked in synthesized neon and dangerous characters. Gosling's rage perpetually seems to be bubbling beneath the surface, so when it does arise in scenes such as the one in the elevator, well, it strikes like lightning and cracks like thunder. Number 14. Goodfellas.
Chop him up and get rid of the cop. Call me when you're through.
There's a good reason why so many fans of director Martin Scorsese seemingly always want the man to deliver a gangster picture. He's just so damn good at it, having earned this reputation helming all-time classics like Goodfellas.
Are you crazy?
Yeah, I'm crazy. I'm crazy enough to kill the both of you.
This is a film that walks a fine creative line. On one hand, it's endlessly quotable. It features complicated protagonists we're not supposed to like, yet we just can't help ourselves as we follow their story. This is why the frankly gruesome violence in Goodfellas is perhaps so easy to forget. This is a vicious film, and cuts no corners with the brutality of mob hits and assassinations.
Come on, let's get some more tablecloths.
I don't want to get blood on your floor.
Number 13. Sin City.
Breathe steady, old man. Prove you're not completely useless.
It's perhaps easy to ignore all of the violent goings-on present with Robert Rodriguez's and Frank Miller's Sin City. It all comes down to the fact that this adaptation of the latter's graphic novel is supremely stylized in its approach to action and violence. But make no mistake, because the R rating for Sin City is absolutely earned. The ensemble cast of Bruce Willis, Clive Owen, Jessica Alba, Elijah Wood, Mickey Rourke, and more all do a great job, and it's honestly surprising to see so many big names attached to a property that contains this much old-school bloodshed. It all comes together brilliantly, however, leaving us with set pieces that went on to define boundary-pushing cinema from the mid-2000s.
Stay smart. Stay cool. It's time to prove to your friends that you're worth a damn.
Number 12. Dredd.
This is the law.
Who think you are coming up here?
Disperse immediately, or we will use lethal force to clear the area.
When it was announced that a new film adaptation of the Judge Dredd comic strip was set to be produced, many movie fans that recalled the Sylvester Stallone film were less than excited, but comic fans knew something we didn't.
How do you want it, kids? Body bags or juve cubes? Makes no difference to me.
The potential of the property was huge, and when the end product was released, Dredd's visual effects and action, enhanced by the graphic violence, appeased many who'd been disgusted by the previous film. Involving a unique idea of showing the violence through the eyes of drug-addled viewers in slow motion lent the sci-fi flick an otherworldly, cool veneer. Number 11. Casino.
Can you do it with your left hand?
Well, I never tried.
So you're a righty?
Yeah.
Goodfellas definitely incorporated the violence that enforces that world's rules, but there was one scene in Casino that outdid all of the destruction of its predecessor. When the film literally started with a bang, we thought we knew what we were in for. But when a man is later forced to watch his brother be beaten to death with baseball bats, even we were appalled. When he then suffered similar treatment but was allowed to just barely live so he could be buried alive, it sent a shudder down our spines. Number 10. City of God. The harrowing nature of everyday violence is what makes City of God so impactful as a fictionalized account of real-life criminal lifestyles. The film tethers poverty and violence together in an eternal and inescapable dance, set against the backdrop of a Brazilian favela.
Seu Zé Pequeno, rapá.
Zé Pequeno.
There are no real heroes to speak of within City of God, but instead a survival of the fittest story of desperate living. Generations of those living within this suburb of Rio de Janeiro find violence around them at every turn, with seemingly no way out of the growing urban walls that keep them prisoner.
A vida na favela era o purgatório. Virou inferno.
Number 9. Natural Born Killers. It should go without saying that a film depicting the bloody trail of a couple of serial killers was not going to get a PG rating, but the highly stylized violence of Natural Born Killers still caused much outrage when it was released.
Free, Kevin.
Scenes in which murder is given the sitcom treatment, laugh track included, may have been meant as a satire, but by the time a prison riot is shown, we know what's going on here, and it's no laughing matter.
That was, whatchamacallit? Fate.
Number 8. Rambo.
Live for nothing, or die for something.
When Sylvester Stallone brought one of his trademark characters back to life 20 years after he last played the role, the decision was made to go for a grittier, gorier version of John Rambo. We'd seen the titular badass kill plenty of people before, but never had he done it in such a throat-ripping, disemboweling fashion as he does in the 2008 indie film. Ultimately coming to a crescendo in a 50 caliber M2 machine gun shootout that begins with its first victim being turned to liquefied goo, Rambo definitely earned its credentials for our list. Number 7. Battle Royale. Coming out years before the Hunger Games, this Japanese action thriller sees a group of youngsters forced to hunt each other to the death. But instead of drama and melodrama, it focuses on the actual games and horror they create. This is a world where disrespect by the youth is so out of control that examples had to be made of them, with the worst behaving class being forced to kill or be killed each year. Upping the action by throwing in a few ringers with superior weaponry, you can rest assured nobody will be climbing and hanging out in trees in Battle Royale. Number 6. Saving Private Ryan.
Even if you think the mission's FUBAR, sir?
Especially if you think the mission's FUBAR.
What's FUBAR?
The war film genre received a serious upgrade back in 1998 with the release of Steven Spielberg's Saving Private Ryan. The frequently glossy and overly stylized battle sequences of old were replaced by gritty and up-close accounts of realistic death and dying. No characters felt safe, and this aura of chaos and danger was amplified by the handheld camera work that frequently peppered each attack. Saving Private Ryan remains uncomfortable viewing too, even some 20 plus years removed from its initial release. The tragedy and horrors of war are difficult to bear after all, and this film reminds us of the magnitude of challenges faced by the greatest generation. Number 5. Oldboy. A man and his hammer can sure do a lot of damage. As Oldboy tells the story of a man consumed by a desire for vengeance, it makes sense that things are going to get a little gruesome.
한 개씩 뽑힐 때마다 1년씩 남는 거야.
But the level things reach in this Korean neo-noir is both surprising and enthralling. Whether it was the legendary hammer in the hall fight scene or the torture and tooth removal sequence, this film pulled no punches when it came to showcasing action and violence. Number 4. Braveheart.
Scotland's daughters and her sons are yours, no more. Tell them Scotland is free.
Most war movies are inherently violent, but this medieval war drama's extended battle scenes step things up a notch in glorious fashion. Never cutting away to the men in the rear or focusing on the politics behind the death and destruction, the mayhem of the era's wars that is typically glorified is instead shown in grisly detail in Mel Gibson's Braveheart. The cherry on top of it all comes in the extended torture and beheading that comes late in the film. Number 3. RoboCop.
Your move, creep.
Much of the RoboCop franchise in the 80s was child-friendly, including toys, animated shows, and comic books, except for the film that started it all, which was the furthest thing from PG. This movie features a man who finds his way into toxic waste and is horribly mutated, only to be hit by a car and instantly pulverized. Even the protagonist meets a gruesome death before he becomes the title character, in a scene that includes his hand and arm being shot off before his entire body is riddled with bullets, all finished off with a final headshot. Number 2. Kill Bill franchise. When a group of samurai-obsessed professional killers attempts to take out one of their own but doesn't finish the job, the table is set for a series of escalating standoffs. In the first of the 2 films in the series, that was certainly the case, as Volume 1 ends off with a sword fight so brutal and bloody that Tarantino had to make the scene black and white to get past American film censors. Though several other of the director's films like Reservoir Dogs, Inglourious Basterds, and Django Unchained use violence, it was this film that showed it off in perfect Tarantino style. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. The Passion of the Christ. Most movies based on the Bible eschew violence and opt instead to bring a sanitized version of the famous stories to celluloid. When Mel Gibson decided to tell the story leading up to Christ's death, he bucked that trend in what appeared to be an effort to have viewers marinate in it all. Showing a vicious whipping, Jesus' head being ripped apart by the crown of thorns, and ultimately his gore-filled crucifixion in all its grandeur, this film has more than earned the top spot on our list. So, at what point does violence become too gratuitous? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.